All right, let me bring in Dhirendra Kumar. Dhirendra, thank you so much for joining us. It's a wonderful week. The market continues to be volatile, but we are focusing on our long-term portfolios, Dhirendra. I want you to quickly address just one question for me. There are a lot of analysts right now, if you watch business channels like the one that we're watching at this point. There are a lot of analysts who come on these channels saying, you know, you should focus on a particular sector, you should focus on infrastructure, you could focus on, you know, sectors that involve using crude as a raw material. And investors might be thinking, okay, maybe that's a good idea, maybe that makes sense. But like we always say on this show, it's important to only stick with your plan. What advice would you give someone who's considering focusing on a particular sector at this point?
Ask yourself a question that, you know, are you an investor or are you a trader? If you are a trader, then on work days and business days, watch the, try and make sense of it. But I think, you know, our program is targeted to investors, people who save. That is why you hire a fund manager. Or if you have built your own equity portfolio, then choose some good companies, great companies, and diversify, follow some basic rule and be at it. Never, invest a big amount at one go. Don't redeem all your investments or don't act in a haste. So these are basic principles, prudent principles to be followed with your savings. Only put your long-term money into equity. So if one is following all this, I don't think you have to worry about at all.
That's the important thing. Are you an investor or are you a trader? And if you're an investor, then simply stick with your plan. Everything else is just surround sound and noise, nothing that you should be paying particular attention to. Then if you have a question, this is an interesting question. Gopalakrishnan has written in. He's a retired PSU employee. He doesn't have any pension though, he tells us. He has funds worth 25,000 rupees per month parked in a bank FD. So the interest it generates is about 25,000 rupees. He has a PPF of 22 lakh rupees. Additionally, he has health insurance and he would like to spend about 5 lakh rupees on foreign travel in the near future. 3 to 4 lakh rupees on a wedding in the next 2 years. He wants you to recommend a couple of mutual funds that he can look at. So it does seem like his immediate needs are looked after. He doesn't have anything helping him beat inflation over the long term, Dhirendra. Is that something that he should be using mutual funds for?
I would say that, he should seriously consider moving a part of his money, and in 2-3 years time, once his PPF is mature, then he will, he can move a part of that money. So he should definitely work towards moving, retaining his allocation to fixed income so that his monthly income is met. And a reasonable part, I would say, the money which has accumulated in PPF, if it is unlikely to need it for consumption, a reasonable part of that should methodically find its way into conservative equity allocation, and say a balanced fund or even a more conservative allocation. All that money should not be invested at one go at any cost. He doesn't have the margin of going wrong after catching a market peak. So being very conservative with your participation in equity, approaching it carefully, cautiously or conservatively with a balanced fund, and maybe more conservative balanced fund. So if these two things are, if he's attempting these two things, if he's approaching it like this, there's a great possibility that he will not only be able, he will be able to beat inflation with his overall return. Because nearly 50% of his money has to necessarily be in fixed income, and then clean up his portfolio otherwise. It's extremely important because otherwise he runs the great risk of outliving his savings, which could be not a very desirable outcome.
All right, so conservative balanced funds are on your screen right now, and a quick recap of what Dhirendra said. Use an SIP, use a conservative balanced fund, but you must be investing at least a small amount of your money in equity in order to beat inflation over the long term. It's absolutely necessary for your portfolio. If you need anything else, you can reach us. We're exactly here on this show, week on week.